Hello and welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at anymoon.com's transformation guide for Toynami's 155 scale Masterpiece Robotech Alpha. This would also cover Aoshima's 148 scale Metal Century or New Century Alloy Mospeada Legioss toys. So let's start off by pointing out that this toy sitting in fighter mode is not currently sitting entirely on its chest. It actually has maybe a millimeter, maybe less, of clearance, but it's not sitting on the fin or the chest. It is just barely off of it. If your toy is sitting on its chest, then you've slightly mistransformed it, although figuring out how you've mistransformed it is very difficult, and some of these toys just seem so poorly built that you're never going to get it off of its chest in fighter mode anyways. So, without further ado, let's dive into transforming the toy. So I would say step one would be to collapse the fins. Easy peasy. Let's take the gun off. You're not going to need it for transformation, that's for sure. Now the gun itself, you would pull out the handle and put the magazine in, and that now is ready for the next mode. You would next detach. Now I have everything transformed properly, but you could still see there's a big nasty gap in the arms. This is true of just about every Robotech Masterpiece Alpha toy I've ever seen. It just has to do with either a poor mold at the factory, poor design by Toynami, or maybe the model makers before them. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and collapse the landing gears. You're going to want to be careful with this front landing gear. It's made out of there's a thin plastic piece here. I've seen people break that plastic piece and then you're left with a constantly dangling front landing gear. Okay, so back to where we were. The arms are now disconnected from the legs, which lets you both extend the arms and the legs. But before we do that, the legs are currently attached to two little pegs right next to this VTOL vent. If you've got this toy transformed properly, you'll only see the tops of those pegs. If you could see the whole peg, then something's not going right. Also notice that the hips are butting right up against the chest intakes. If there's any gap there, you've got the toy mistransformed. Alright, so let us simply pull backwards and apart to get those legs separated and extended. Now we'll do a little more work to extend them just a little bit further in a bit. But first, let's also get the arms going a little bit here. And again, we'll work on those a little bit more later. So now we can fold the legs over, like so. And we can bring the wings out and down, like so. Usually the act of just folding the wing over is also what causes it to extend a little away from the body. Obviously you want to be gentle when you do it though. So now you can swing these arms forward. Like so. And you can see it's starting to come into diver mode already. You can got to extend. So there's an extension right behind the intake here. You got to extend those legs back, and then you can bring them forward. Now you can bring the toes forward, do what you want with the heel. But we are clearly getting there. Now I'll wait till I'm going to soldier mode or Batroid mode before I get too crazy with the legs here. But with the arms, it's good to rotate them a little bit and kind of wiggle jiggle like so as you extend. And that just ensures you get it all the way out. Do not pull too hard on these arms. There's a plastic interior peg. If you pull too hard, oops, you will break that peg and you will pull off your arm. Now you're going to rotate out the fist. Now the fist is made out of a weird rubber material. It is very delicate. I do not recommend you handling the fists at all. Alright, now we will flip open the sensor array. And now that's a part that was separate. There we go. So again, you would do some fine tuning to make sure you had the legs just how you wanted them. But essentially, you are now in diver mode. The final step for getting into diver mode is to use these legs. You have to push them back towards the back of the vehicle. Sometimes you get an audible click, sometimes you don't. But what you're doing is moving the hips rearward, which gets a little bit more room. Sorry if that was off. I can't really show it too well, but that creates a little bit more room for the legs so they can now swing forward, and you can re-collapse that section that you originally extended. And that shores up the legs a little bit tighter. And it also gets the legs in the proper position for Batroid mode, which we will go to next. To continue on to Batroid mode, begin by removing the pegs that attach the front winglets to the chest intakes. So you're just going to apply a little pressure upward and just gently pull forward. Now, sometimes the head underneath is kind of locking it into place, so you might have to wiggle jiggle with the head. But now you can see the front of the toy is free. Okay, so now we can just bring the legs back and push in this trapdoor. Never pull that trapdoor outward, you'll break it. Just push it inward. Now we can, well, let's do it there. Alright, so let's rotate the chest. Now, in order to rotate the chest, you make sure you're slid all the way forward. And then just rotate forward. These little wing lips collapse inward like so. So just rotating forward. And that allows you now to simply bring that nose cone straight backward, fold over the wings, and there's little slots in the nose cone. The wings should just peg into those little slots. It's not very important that you do it though. Now you can just fold the head down. On this green and the red guy, you would move the fin backwards. Now, this is really, I mentioned earlier, the leg extensions. You can do a little wiggle jiggle, and you should be able to see the full black circle and feel a little click. And that lets you know the legs are fully extended. And then you can push that kneecap up as far as it'll go. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, just wiggle jiggle. And there you hear a little click. And now that leg is fully extended. You've got the full extension in the chest area. You pull the chest forward. And there you have it. You now have your toy. In Batroid mode. Okay, so the only fine tuning I did was tucking the head down a little bit lower, which should help mitigate the crooked head on some of these toys. There's a little slot that the neck can slide into there. It doesn't always help. You still should have some range of motion with that head. Alright, that's it for Toynami's Robotech Masterpiece Alpha's transformation guide. Going back into fighter mode, keep in mind those little tips I gave you when you were in fighter mode about these crotch locks. And if you do everything right, the landing gear should work, albeit so closely to not working at all. All right, visit anymoon.com for the full review. Thanks for watching.